working on getting, I guess, play stuff is. Come here a minute. Uh, all right. I told Cody, I said, listen, if my brother or Ernest, either one, is watching tonight, they're saying, does Jay not know what time it is? But uh, some just last minute stuff there today. And but I'm glad to see everybody here today. I ask y'all to bear with us. I know they're getting ready. Somebody asked me about children. I was like, yeah. And Jesse's like, no. But they're getting stuff ready for the play, getting costume stuff ready for a dress rehearsal. I think this weekend. So uh, that's what they're working on. But and as many of y'all who, if you've been here the past couple of Wednesdays, or well, last Wednesday, I guess, my brother had started something and planned to be here today, but I was telling Steve they've had some concerns come up about some machines in his at his work, and he's having to. He went to Crossville, West Knoxville, and probably in Sevierville right now, trying to look and narrow down some things for Caterpillar. So that's why he's not here tonight. So, but would like to say I'm glad to see each and every one that's gathered out. I'm glad you took time to be here. Hope you're not too warm. Had Matt come turn the heat on. I think he turned it on like all the way up because I'm sweating to death. But we're glad everybody is here tonight. I'm gonna read today in Luke chapter 15, and we're gonna do a lot of maybe some speed reading today because there's just a place or two in this that I really want to cover. We're going to start in probably at verse 11, Luke chapter 15, and verse 11, if he will. I didn't have anyone pass me any prayer requests before service, but I would say continue to remember Terry's mom. Know she's still in the hospital and needing 24-hour care. So ask you if you would to be sure and remember them. Uh, but mom and dad's my uncle. He's you know, and a lot of times we all know this. We know that it hurts. It hurts when you watch people get sick and you watch people get old. It hurts, but reality is it's coming to all of us somewhere. Maybe we get lucky enough to live to be old before it happens. Um, maybe we're young, but I mean that's the only way God has to transport us from this side of life to the next. And but it don't take the sting away nonetheless. I made a comment one time to a guy. I said, it's hard watching your parents get old. And I didn't realize that the guy I was saying that to lost both his parents at a young age. And he said, Jay, you know what's hard? Not getting to watch your parents get old. And it really made me look at life from a different set of eyes at that point. But let's remember them for sure in your prayers. Anybody here have any prayer requests for me, Becky? Your stepdad's brother? Okay. Let's remember Becky, if you couldn't hear hers. He had found her stepdad's found his brother deceased today. So if you would, let's keep that family for sure in prayer. Anybody else? No one else this evening? All right. Father, we come to you this evening. Father, we're so grateful and thankful and humble, Lord, that you saw fit to give us another opportunity, another chance to come out here and hear you and allow you to speak to us and allow your word to inject into our hearts and our spirits. Father, we pray that every request, especially the request made known by Becky, Father, we just pray that you bless that family, you comfort that family, Lord. Father, we know that you can do that. We know, Lord, while we may they're going through, Father, we know that you are the answer. We know that you can send them comfort. Father, we pray that you do that. Father, we pray that your word be seasoned with grace today, Lord, that the words that I speak, Lord, be not of myself, but of you, Lord, and that it will be uplifting. Father, we ask you this in the precious name of Jesus. Amen. All right, Luke 15, verse 11. Like I said, I'm going to do a little speed reading. If not, there's no way I'm keeping you here to 8:30 like my brother did, because I'll never hear the end of it. But I'm going to have to speed read a little bit and make myself not throw some points here and there, because I'm going to want to. But Luke 15, verse 11 said, and he said, a certain man. Now, if you're not reading along when he's here in this, I know it's on the screen. So if you're not reading along in your Bible, or if you're reading on your phone, not all phones show you the difference of when Jesus is speaking and when Jesus isn't speaking. And so in 11, when it said, and he said, from then forth, that's Jesus speaking now, as he's given this parable. He said, a certain man had two sons, and the younger of them said to his father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. So, real quick, I'm not going to be able to do it probably, but I'm going to try my best, okay? And not many days afterward, the younger son gathered all together. John, he's on the spot tonight. I thought I was reading the same verse again. He done went to the next one for me. Sorry, John, didn't mean to throw you off. 12th verse. And the younger of them said to his father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And at the end of that, he said, and he divided unto them his living. He divided unto them his living. So, only the one son wanted his portion. Only the one son wanted his portion. But at this point, for some reason, he went ahead and divided it. The Bible said unto them. He didn't just figure it up and then just say, okay, son, here's your part. And then the other son who never left the house, he didn't say, hey, you know what? You can't have yours. You can't have yours until I die or until you get ready to go. Jesus plainly said here, and I'm going to be real honest with y'all, I didn't even catch this till just now when I read that, because he said, and he divided it unto them his living. He divided it unto them his living. And who in here mostly knows this passage here of the prodigal son? Because most of us have heard that preached. Most of us have. So, and I just asked that because some of us already know kind of what happens. But he divided it unto the both of them. What a lot of people don't realize is you will never have to sacrifice. You would never have to give up the life God has given you to receive what God has for you. You would never have to give up what God has given you to receive what God has for you. Because that's what this guy did. This guy, he's a son. He's like, Dad, give me my part. I want to go. Hey, Britt, Jenny, is she going to do a class? Is that why she got them? Okay. You could have checked for me in case Cameron and Kylie want to go. So, he didn't. He told him, he said, I'll tell you what, here, I'm going to give you your portion. But I'm also going to give you your portion. And he never left the house. He never left the house. So in the 13th verse, he said, and not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and he wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. So here, this young man, as Jesus is talking about him here, this young man he went to his father, and he's like, she is having class. Jeannie's actually having class if the girls want to go, Britt. So here, this man goes to his father. He's the son of a king. He has everything he could imagine. He has everything he could possibly want to have. But a lot of times, it's not what we have that lures us away. It's what we think we want. It's what we think we want. And I said it talking to Steve earlier. I said, the old saying is, you got what you wanted, but you lost what you had. There's many times in life we feel like we know what we want. There's many times we feel like we know what's best for us, and that's what we pursue. And sometimes it happens, and sometimes we say, man, look what God done for us. Now, I'm not saying God doesn't do it sometimes, but sometimes it's not God. Sometimes it was what we willed God into letting us do. Just like this man did. He's like, Dad, give me mine. I want to go. I want to go. Why? He couldn't have found a better life anywhere than what he already had. But he didn't want what he had. He thought he wanted something greater. He thought he wanted something different. And that's when he says, no, I'm taking mine. I'm taking mine and I'm getting out of here. Well, a few days later, he's lost everything he had. You found in the 14th verse. He lost everything he had. And then, as soon as he lost everything he had, there was a mighty famine in the land. And now here he is. He's spent all of his money. He spent all of his money on doing what he wanted to do. And now he don't have anything. Have you ever been to a place you felt like you had nothing? I can honestly say I've never been this way, and I hope y'all haven't either. I hope you've never experienced this. I have an awesome mom and dad, and I've done many things and gave them many reasons to, when I have left and wanted to come back home or needed to come back home, to tell me, no, son, no, not here. But I can honestly say my mother and my father's always welcomed me and any of my siblings. And a lot of people's kids that don't even belong to us. I mean, I just be honest with you. Growing up, it was never just my family. We always had friends from school that we knew, moms and dads, for whatever reason, didn't want them and would make comments about wish they wouldn't come home. That I've watched my mom and dad raise and help lead and guide and mentor and a lot of people call my mom and dad that are no blood related, because that's just who they were. And this guy here, because of what he done, he felt like he couldn't go back home. He felt like he couldn't go home. Maybe you've not used that at home, but have you ever had a relationship that something that was said or something that was done hindered that relationship, and then all of a sudden you felt like you could never go back to that relationship? You could never have the relationship would never be the same. It would never be the same. Well, I can be real honest with you. I use it as questions, but I say there's no dumb question. The only dumb question is a question never asked. Jenny would argue with you. Told Laney that the other day. She said, Laney, your daddy says no question is a dumb question, but if you don't quit asking me dumb questions, and I'm like, Jenny, she really was pretty off the wall. Like, are we leaving? No, we're just sitting in the van in the driveway. It was kind of that kind of question. But, he had an opportunity. He could have go home. I'm going to be honest with you. What keeps us in the pit, what keeps us at the bottom, more so than anything, is pride. Pride is the very thing that will keep us from excelling in what God wants. Because every trial you've ever been through, every valley that we've ever had to crawl through, was a lesson that God was giving us. And when you got through it, the same God who helped you get through it is the same God who is also waiting to wrap his arms around you. But so many times I've been in a place where I thought, man, why would he love me? why would that person forgive me after what I done? Why would they be willing to accept me back? And the answer to that is they're not, unless, because it's hard. I'm not saying there's not people who wouldn't, that don't know the Lord, but it takes the Lord. It takes the Lord. And he says, you know what? I've spent all I have. There rose a mighty famine, 14th verse, in the land. And he began to be in want. He began to be in want. Hey, you know, I want to point this out real quick. I want you to catch that. You could give me water. I'd love you a little bit more. He said, you know, he began to be in want. He began to be in want. I just really want that to sink in with you, because here's the reason. How many things have we brought on ourselves, and how many times have we made this situation 10 times worse? Because when it first happened, instead of doing what was right, instead of fixing it right then, we let it ride, and it just build and build and build. The more it builds and the more we put it off, what we're actually doing is just putting more distance, not just between us and whomever. We're putting distance between us and God. We're putting distance between, I'll keep it with the story, we're putting distance between us and the Father. He began to be in want. Who in here knows that if he would have went home that day, that his father would have accepted him back? I know he would have. Say, well, you don't know because the story don't. No, I know he would have. I can say that beyond a shadow of a doubt. Why? Because I'm a dad. I'm a dad. And I love my kids. And they don't always do what I want them to do. I'm talking about my adult kids now. You got a way of making my younger kids do what I want them to do. My older kids, I don't. And they've done things that I wish they hadn't have done. But when they realized that it was the wrong thing to do, I didn't throw it up in their face. I didn't harp on it. Thanks, man. I didn't harp on it. I immediately loved on them. Immediately loved on them. Some of y'all new people may not know, I have a son that's 27 years old. He'll be 27 March 24th anyhow. And hopefully he goes to church. You know, he lives in Dandridge, and I hope he goes. I've encouraged him to go. I pretty much know he don't, but he don't come here. But when I see him, I don't harp on him about not being here. When I see him, I just love on him. Why? Because he's my son. He's my son. Him coming to church ain't going to make me love him anymore. I'm going to love him regardless. But you know what? Every now and again, my phone will ring. 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's my son on the other end. Lots of times he's crying. He's like, Dad, I'm tired of living like this. Dad, I know I've made a mistake. And Dad, I don't want you to not love me. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, son. I'm just going to be honest with you. You can't do nothing to make me not love you. You're my son. Yeah, you may do things that I wish you didn't do, and you may live a life in a way that I wish you wouldn't live. But guess what? You're my son. Well, Dad, so-and-so. I said, but you ain't so-and-so's son. You're my son. You're my son. And that's the way God is to us. And when we mess up and we go to him and we talk to him, and I say it oftentimes that Christians is what's killed Christianity, not the world. We've done it through judgmental. We've done it through pride. But I'm like, son, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to love you. I'm here to help, lead, guide, direct you if you'll allow me to. He's like, but Dad, I'm sorry. My son, it's okay. What can I do to help you? If that man, when he began to be in want, if he would have went to his father, there's a lot of things that he wound up going through that he would have never had to go through if he would have just went to the Father. How many things and how many times have we brought stuff on ourselves and made matters worse because we refuse to go give it to the Father?
We refuse to go back to him. 15th verse said, and he went and he joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed swine. You got to know where this young man come from. They didn't even eat swine. Pigs are nasty, but funnest job I ever had working on a pig farm. Another story, another time. But I couldn't do it today, but then loved it. But he went to, it's a nasty job. The filthiest thing I've ever done. So I can relate to how nasty he was. They didn't even eat swine. They were forbidden. And here this man is in such want that that's what he fell back on. And the sad part about it is that's how he even got fed at times, is he ate what was fit for them. Most of us know what, anybody in here know what slop is? It's everything. If you don't know, take everything you've cooked for 3 months, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, and that's a bucket of slop. Pigs will eat it up. I couldn't even smell it, but they'll eat it up. He joined himself just to be able to eat. And when he would fain have filled his belly with the husk, he'd fill his belly with the husk the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. When he began to be in want, pride kept him from going to the Father. Pride kept him from putting an end to his suffering. Not his brother's, his suffering. Pride said he began to want, and instead of going to the Father, he threw himself on a man from another country. And says, listen, you know the famine that's in the land. I don't have anything. What can I do? And evidently, listen to me right here. This is just a good point. Evidently, the man looked at him and said, well, the only way that I'll even let you feed my swine is you've got to denounce who you are and join yourself to this country. He was the son of the king. He was the son of the king. Hey, Satan is still doing that to men and women and men and women and children today. Because when we begin to be in want and we don't go to the Father, what Satan does is he'll start to lure you in to get you to focus more on him. Because if he can get you to focus more on him, and he can get you to forget about God's work, to forget about what you had when you were with the Lord and when you were in the Lord, if he can forget you to denounce him and depend on him, now he can control everything about you. And that's what he said. He's, the Bible don't say that, but in so many words, but that's what, the next verse, he says, well, he joined himself to that country. Well, if he could have went and worked for the man without doing that, I don't believe he would have ever done that. I don't believe he would have ever done that. So in order for him, because of pride, and in order for him to be fed, in order for him to not be fed what he wanted, but be fed to live, he had to completely denounce who he was. Completely denounce who he was. The only way, I hear people sometimes, a lot of times, they say, well, the devil made me do it. No, he didn't. The devil didn't make you do a thing. He ain't got no more power than God, and God can't make you do nothing. That was the whole point in God sending his son, was to give you choice. It's God's will that no man should perish, but that every man have everlasting life. That's God's will. But unfortunately for us, he left choice to us. So I can promise you that the devil doesn't have any more power than God does. So when that happens, it's not that the devil made you do it. You done that of your own lust, of your own wants, of your own pride. And that's what this man done. He did not have to denounce his father. He did not have to denounce who he was. But in order to join himself to another country, he had to. He had to. So he does that. He joins himself to another country. And no man gave unto him, so he would eat the slop that he would feed the pigs because he's hungry. Hey, listen, we're real quick to judge people who fall in sin, but when you're truly in sin, it's not that some of the things you do that you really want to do, it's just some things you do because you feel like you have to do to survive. And if we're not real careful, we'll judge those kind of people. When in reality, rather than judge them, we ought to be reaching for them. You don't have to rely on that. I remember sitting in a meeting with a bunch of preachers one time. And I wasn't even a minister at the time myself, but this senior pastor asked me if I would sit into a meeting. And I sat in with him, and we were talking about some things, and I said, hang on a minute. I said, I've heard you, damn a lot of things, and I've heard you condemn a lot of things, but I said, you know what I have a problem with? I have a problem with men who think they have to eat pain pills 24 hours a day to make it through a day. And when I said that, there's two ministers in there that I knew. I knew them. I knew them very well, and they got offended immediately. And they're like, "Well, hang on a minute. I have to have that to make it through the day." And I said, "Facts is this: the only thing you need to make it through the day is Jesus. But you have told yourself you have to have that to make it through a day. And I have called you on the telephone and had conversations with you that you don't even remember having. And I couldn't hardly understand what you were saying. But you don't think you have a problem. But these other drug addicts and alcoholics out here, they have a problem. But you don't have a problem because it's prescribed to you by a doctor. Why can't you see that that's Satan's way of controlling you?" Oh, he was offended. One more than the other. I can tell you one day he came to himself, though. And he no longer takes pain pills at all. Because he realized that he was using that for a crutch and as an excuse. But that's how Satan will work. He will take something from you. And now don't get crazy. My dad's on some medication right now for his ailment. And I pray to God it works. I pray it helps. I pray it gives him some comfort. I pray it gives him some peace. So I'm not saying, hey, if you're in here and you take medicine from the doctor, you ought to quit. No. That's not what I'm saying at all. I believe God gave him the knowledge that he did for a reason. But if you have come dependent on something in your life, and you depend on it more than anything else in your life, can I please urge you to look back to the Father? Because my Bible says every good and perfect gift cometh from above, from the Father which sent it. I remember, and I know there's some people who have to take medication for this, so please, if you're in here today and you do this, not everybody's the same. But I remember going to the doctor one time, and he prescribed me some Xanax and some other kind of medication. He said, only take the Xanax when you feel like you have to, and you're in that flight mode and you feel the walls closing in, but this other one I need you to take every day. And I thought, man, for one, me to remember to take medicine every day, wow, that's not going to happen. I'm lucky if I walk out of the house with my shoes on. And I'm like, yeah, that'll never happen. I can't do that. I can't do that. And you know what? It would have been easy to, though. Would have been easy for me to do that. But instead, and I don't say this because I say this because of what was indoctrinated into me and what was taught to me as a kid. Instead of immediately turning to the medicine, I turned to the Father. And I said, God, I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to have to go through this. What can I do? What can I do? And the verse that I read and I quote often over in Isaiah, he said, I keep them in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. And so immediately I'm like, all right, Lord, I might not can remember to take that medicine every day, and I don't even want to have to take that medicine every day. But Father, you've been so good to me. Surely I won't forget to pray to you. Surely I won't forget to call on your name. But it could have been easy for me to do that. But you got to think, this is coming from someone who was an alcoholic. So if I'm an alcoholic, you must, if I was an alcoholic, you must know that I have an addictive personality. And it scared me. And I'm like, God, I don't want to depend on that. But you told me if I depended on you, that you would take care of all my needs. You said if I relied on you and I loved on you, that you'd make sure I had everything that I needed. Father, I am in need. I'm not telling you I don't still fight anxiety sometimes. If you're some of my closest friends, and most people, if you go to church here, I consider you a closer friend, you know I fight anxiety. And I can't control when it happens. I can't control when it happens. Sometimes we can be laughing, having a great time. All of a sudden, all I got to know is I can't breathe, and I just need to get out of wherever I'm at. And I'm gone. I still fight it. Nothing like I did, but I still do. But you know what? I still look to the same answer. I still go to him, because I firmly believe today that sometimes when Satan makes us believe things that is one way when it's not. That Satan, I thought about it today. I was coming down the road, and I was just really thanking God for what all he's done for me and my kids and in our lives. And I remember when May, I was out of town, and a doctor went in to Jenny, and Jenny called me, and she's crying. She's hysterical, and I'm like, first of all, you're going to have to calm down so I can understand what you're saying. And she said, Jay, a doctor just come in here, and they said that May will never be right, that part of her brain's missing. And she's deaf in her right ear, and she's losing hearing in her left, and she'll never be right. I said, I'll work through the night and finish this job. I'll see you in the morning. I was in Marietta. I finished that job that night. I come straight to the hospital the next morning. The doctor's name's Dr. Patterson over at Children's Hospital. And Dr. Patterson, I went to Dr. Patterson that morning, and she come into the room, and I said, Dr. Patterson, I need to ask you a question. Have you ever seen where this was reversed? Have you ever seen where it come back? Because I refuse to accept it. And she says, no. After asking her 3 times, she finally tells me no. And I said, I'll remind you of that one day. Well, about 3-4 weeks later, we get a paper in the mail from the state. And the state wants us to fill out this 2 or 3 forms for May, claiming that May was deaf in her right ear, she's losing hearing in her left, and that her mind would never be fully developed. And they wanted us to sign these papers. And here's the catch. They wanted to give me some money for it. They wanted to send us money every month for her being disabled. I'll never forget the day that Jenny come to me and she says, well, they sent this, and here's what they want. What do you want to do? And I said, if I fill those papers out, I'm claiming that what that doctor said is right. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that that's what my daughter has to go through. I don't believe that that's the way it's going to be. I said, throw them in the trash. She said, I'm glad you felt about it like I did. Threw them in the trash. Never filled them out. You know what they done? They sent it to me again. Notice you hadn't. No, you know what? If I could have had a number, I could have called them. I said, listen, save your stamp and save your paper, because no matter how many you send, I'm not going to fill it out. Why? Because I have a Father who can. I have a Father who can reach my needs. I have a Father that I can run to, that I've already spoke to, and here's what he said. Now, I'll never forget the day we finally have that test. I've told this story before, but she has a test. Everything come back great. Everything come back great. And I couldn't wait to go back to see Dr. Patterson. Man, I hadn't seen Dr. Patterson in over a year, buddy. I'm biting at the bit. I'm ready to go. Dr. Patterson come in the door, and I'm holding May sitting on the table, and she says, well, we'll just go ahead and start with May since she's already over here. And I looked Dr. Patterson before she could say another word, and I said, Dr. Patterson, you know May's got 100% hearing in both ears. No, Jay, that's Laney. I said, you must not have heard me right, Dr. Patterson. May's got 100% hearing in both ears. She said, no, Jay, you've got them mixed up. That's not Laney, that's May. May's deaf in her right ear and has the developmental problems. And I said, Dr. Patterson, you ain't read your notes. She said, I'll be back a minute. She turned around and walked out. Boy, I got my chair. Boy, I'm high on the cloud now, boy. I couldn't wait to get in there. Not because of anything I done, but because I wanted her to know what my Father was capable of. I wanted her to know that you know what? It would have been real easy for me to fill out these papers for May's disability because, I mean, who don't want free money from the government every month? It'd been real easy for me to do that. But I felt like if I had, I'd been proclaiming what they said was right, and I didn't believe that. I didn't want it, so I didn't believe it. Dr. Patterson come back in. She sat down. She said, Jay, I'm sorry, but you're right. And she held both hands up and said, thank you, Lord. Thank you. This woman argued with me that I was with the wrong kid. And you know what? Here's what I want to say. And look, maybe I'm going to wind up sooner than I thought I would. I ain't got to the point I want to get to. Maybe I got what God wanted. But I wanted to look at her. I wanted to look at her and let her know, she's like, you've got the wrong kid. And what I really want to look at her and say is, hey, I'm their father. Don't you know I know my kids? Hey, listen, I want to tell you that. He's your father, and don't you know he knows his children? Don't you know that he knows what you need? Don't you know that when we make mistakes or when things get in the way or when we're struggling, that God does not throw you away, that God does not discard you, that he knows you, he loves you, he knows what you need, he knows where you're at. He's just waiting on you sometimes to ask. That's all that man had to do when he got in want. It's all he had to do when he got in want. He said, and when he came to himself, he said, how many? 17th verse. When he came to himself, he said, how many? Think about that. When he began to be in want, he continued to suffer. But when he came to himself, wonder what we would save ourselves if when we began to be in want, if right then we set pride aside and came to ourselves and says, you know what, I caused this mess, I'm the reason I'm in this mess, but I have a father. I have a father. And I'm not so prideful that I don't go back, and have to hear it like, yeah, I knew you'd be back. Yeah, I knew one day you'd realize that was a mistake. I've heard it my whole life. I've made a bunch of mistakes. I don't know about y'all. I've heard it a lot. Yeah, I knew you'd realize you made them. You know what? Why rub it in my face? I thank God that when I come to my Father, he didn't say, yeah, I knew you'd made a mistake and knew you'd come to yourself. I thank God that when I come to him, he said, I've been waiting on you. I've been waiting on you. I've been looking for you. I saw you. I knew you was in want. I really figured at that point you would look to me. I mean, just think about it. This is how I think God works. This is how I think that God wants to say to us sometimes is if you would have just come to me as soon as you realized you was in want, imagine all the heartache, the hurt, the pain, the suffering that I could have saved you from. But instead, we think sometimes we made this mess, we'll fix it. Maybe you're not that way. I'm a fixer. I don't want to just fix my problems. I want to fix your problems. Jenny's like, I'm a random couple. I hear a conversation going on at a dinner table down at Texas Roadhouse. And Jenny's like, Belle, I'm begging you not to. Belle, I'm begging you not to. And I just like, whew. But I just can't help it. I hear it, and then finally I'm just like, I don't mean to be nosy. Anybody starts out a conversation, I don't mean to be nosy. Yeah, you do, or you wouldn't be saying nothing. I do it all the time. I do mean to be nosy. I don't mean to be nosy in a point that I want more troubles, I want more weights and worries to carry. I mean it in a way of, can I talk to you about somebody that can help you? I might not can help you. I may not have the right words to help you, but I have a Father. I have a Father. And he's just a phone call away. He'll never seen, you ever called your friends you just really needed? Sent straight to voicemail and know they declined your call? Don't nobody point at me. I know you wanted to. He's warned you. He'll never decline your call. He'll never turn a deaf ear to your need. He'll never turn a cold heart when you desire compassion, whether you caused the mess or not. All you have to do is set pride aside. All you have to do is let pride go. Because when he came to himself, he said, I'll rise and go to my Father. When he came to himself, 18th verse, he said, I will arise and go to my Father. And I'll say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. You know, there's some people who say, well, you know, I'm going to God, I'm taking it to God. But every prayer you start off with is, if you're not blaming God for the way you are, you're blaming somebody else. Maybe you're not there today. I've been there. I'm speaking to you today from experience. We blame everybody but us for the reason we're the way we are. But you know what? When you really hit the rock bottom like this man did, when you really get to the bottom and you truly let go of pride and you truly come to yourself and you go back to your Father, he's telling somebody this. He says, I will rise, go to my Father, and I will say to him, Father, I've sinned. Not, Father, I left because you was hard on me. Father, I left because you favored my brother more than you did me. Father, I left because somebody enticed me to leave. Father, I left. He just got right down to the nitty-gritty and said, Father, I've sinned against thee. I've sinned against heaven. He wasn't cutting it slack. He wasn't going to, he says, I'm just going to be real honest. I'm going to be real up forward with it. And the 19th verse said, and I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. Why was he not worthy? Did he feel like he was not worthy to be called his son? I may keep you a little bit longer than I thought, but we still got everybody. Why did he feel like he wasn't worthy to be called his son no more? Because he had already denounced his father. He joined himself to another country. And he's saying, Father, I've not only sinned against you, I've done the worst thing ever. I denied you, but this country took me in. So God, Father, I don't want to be your son. I just want to be a hired servant. I don't want to sleep in my old bedroom. I'm okay out there in the shack. I don't need none of that. Why? Because what he's saying is, I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it because of what I've done. Again, the devil Satan trying to convince you of that. You are worthy. Don't matter what you've done. It don't matter where you've been. My Bible says, whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. None of that matters. But Satan wants you to believe it does. Satan wants you to believe that it matters. He said, I'll just go back to him. I'll tell him I've sinned. I'm not worthy to be your son, but can I just be a servant? 20th verse said, and he arose and came to his father. He arose and came to his father. Man went through a lot between beginning to being wont and when he actually went to his father. When he began to be in want, he had not yet denounced his father. When he began to be in want, he could have just went right home right then. But he had to get till he didn't have anything. I picture this man sitting in here with a swine, and I picture him in my mind, I picture him wasting to nothing. I picture him nothing but maybe just look like a bag of bones because he's starving, he's hungry. No doubt starting to lose his mind a little bit because he don't have any friends now. All of his money's gone, all his friends is gone. He don't have anybody. Remember, the Bible said he had nobody to give unto him. He couldn't depend on anybody for anything. But when he come to himself and he realized what he truly needed to do, see, that's the big problem, is most of the time when we come to ourselves, we still are not willing to truly do what we know we need to do. So we just keep wallowing in the mud. But when he finally got to that point, he said he arose, he came to his father, but when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion on him. Imagine this today. Some people say, well, I've gone so far and I've done so much, I don't even know if God can hear me. Oh, God hears you, and God sees you, and God knows exactly where you're at. And he knows exactly what you need. And sometimes it's not what you think you need. But just like this father, do you think that this father just so happened to be on the front porch this day, looking down the right road that led to his house, waiting on his son to come home? You believe it just happened that day? I believe he set out every morning. I believe every morning from the day that he watched him completely disappear, I believe he sat there every day just looking, knowing, you know what, one day my boy will be back. One day my boy will be back. I don't know what he's going to have to go through. I don't know how bad he's going to have to suffer. I don't know how low he's going to go. But I know if I keep coming out here, one day I'll come out here and I'll see him make his way back down that same road. Hey, it's okay if that's you today. It's okay if you have done some things and been into some places to where you need to make that trip back down that road. It's okay. It don't make you less of a person. And you realize that today, don't put it off. Don't put it off. When he began to be in want, you can replace that with anything you want. When you began to hurt, when you began to feel lonely, when you began to feel worthless, when you began to feel hopeless, when you began to feel like that your life is upside down and it'll always be upside down. When you began to feel that way, imagine what it would be if we just turned it to the Father at that point. Lord, I've been through a lot of things. Because when I began to realize where I was wrong, when I began to be in want, when I began to hurt, I just wanted to keep hurting. I'll just be honest with you. If I jump off this stage and I hurt a knee, it'll be the last time I jump off this stage. You ain't going to believe this, but I've got old enough to be smart enough to not jump off of it. Matt's still getting there. He'll get there one day, though. When he finally come to himself, he run to his father. His father was waiting on him. And when he was yet a great way off. I heard something today. Me and Matt was listening to it. I listened to it a couple of times because I was wanting it to be more. So I listened to it the first time, and I thought I hit my finger with something, and it cut it off. So I was like, I listened to the whole thing again, and it cut off at the same place. And I looked at Matt, and I was like, I just listened to that whole thing again, thinking there ought to have been more. And he started laughing. He's like, I wondered what you was doing. But I heard him put it like this. He said, in order to see anything a great way off, you've got to be looking for that one thing. You got to be looking for that one thing. That father wasn't just coincidentally looking out the front waiting for someone else and then say, wait a minute. Man, that's my boy. It wasn't just a coincidence that happened. He had been there specifically looking for his son to come home. You mean that much to God today. And no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, He's waiting and He's watching. He's not going to pull you out of that. You're going to have to want to get out of it. You're going to have to want to get out of it. I believe that boy's father could have left and he could have went and maybe found his son and you know, could have traveled around looking for him till he found him. But instead he waited and he said, you know what, I'm just going to keep looking because one day I know he's going to come. One day I know he's going to walk back down those aisles or that road. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait on him to come till then. But he let him hit the bottom. How much further down do you desire to go? How much further down do you desire to go before you truly look to God for the answer for what you have issues with? It's easy for you to say. No, it's not easy for me to say. Not easy at all. It's so hard that the hard side of it means I have to deny myself. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do is deny flesh. It's not easy. It's hard. I'll promise you, it's hard every time. But the end result, the longer we go and the more we let pride stand in our way and the more we let that consume us, the harder it will get and the further we'll go and the more that we'll go to. I'm going to finish up right here. He said, I'll go to my father, and I'll say to him, Father, I have sinned against thee in heaven before thee, and I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. So he rose, he came to his father. When his father was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck. And he kissed him, and the son said unto him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Don't you? Hey, listen, I respect a man that keeps his word, don't you? That man said, you know what I should do? Here's what I need to do. When he come to himself, he didn't say, I'm going to go blame everybody under the sun. He said, I'm just going to own up to it. You know why? I'm going to have to, for number one, the Father already knows. He says, I'm going to run to my father. I'm going to tell him this. And now look what he did here in this verse. And the son said unto him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and I'm no more worthy to be called thy son. I'm not worthy to be here. I'm not worthy to be called your son. And you know, just put me in the field. But the father said to his servants, bring forth the best robe. Not just any robe. He said, bring forth the best robe and put it on him. Don't just bring it. We ain't going to hang it on the clothespin. We're going to put it on him. Why? Because that's my boy. That's my son. I don't care where he's been. He didn't ask him. You notice the father didn't say, come on, son, talk to me now. What'd you go blow your money on? Where you been living? Who you been living with? What you been doing? Yeah, what all did you try while you was gone? You know why? Because none of it mattered. All that mattered to this man, all that mattered to this father is that his son one day left, and this day he came home, and it didn't matter to him. He said, put the best robe on him. And not just do that, put a ring on his hand. Say, well, what's that mean? Hey, who knows that back in the day, if you had the seal of the king, that's where it was. It was in the ring. And if you had that ring, anything you wanted to do, as long as you had that ring as the seal, it would overcome and it would stand above all things as long as it was stamped with a seal. That father didn't say, yeah, you can be a servant. He said, I'm going to give you the nicest robe. I'm going to give you my ring. You know what he was saying is, it's like you never left. It's like you've never left. He said, don't just stop there. Bring him some shoes. Put some shoes on his feet. Don't just stop there. Go fill the fatted calf and bring the calf that we might eat and be merry. For this is my son. I'm closing right here. This is my son. 24. For this, my son, my daughter, my son. Hey, listen, they won't nobody love you like God loves you. There's nothing out there that can replace the love that God has for you. There's nothing out there that can replace the blood that Jesus shed for you. A lot of people can say a lot of things and they can put us down in many ways, but I don't care what people say. I don't care what people think. All I care about is what God thinks. All I care about is what God says. He says this father said, this my son was dead. Dead in what? Trespasses and sin. See how he just brought us in? He who was dead in trespasses and sin, who was dead in trespasses and sin. What was the difference in being dead in trespasses and sin and not being? When we came to ourselves, we come to the Father. And we said, Father, I've sinned against you, and I've sinned before heaven. And God says, this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry when he came to himself. God's not going to make you do that. He's not going to make us do it. You're going to have to do that on your own. He'll be there waiting on you. When we know who the Father is and where the Father is, and all we do is go further and further away, all we're doing is hurting ourselves more and more. He's not going to rip us up and say, listen, I told you to get back over here. He's going to leave a choice up to you. But who in here, if you paid for it, it means more to you than if somebody else bought it for you. You ever had anything like that? If you paid for it, if it's yours, your hard-earned money, and you see somebody throw it, I don't know about you, but I about come unglued. I can't tell you the tools I've bought. See guys just mistreat them. I'm like, yeah, I can tell that didn't come out of your pocket. When you pay for it, it means more to you. Sometimes you have to hit the bottom in order to really rise back to the top. But God wants to do that for you. And he's waiting on you. He's looking for you. And say, well, maybe there ain't nobody here. Maybe it's someone online. Maybe it's for you to take the work. Maybe it's for you to take the work. You don't have to keep wallowing in it. You don't have to keep hurting. You don't have to keep rolling the bed at night. I didn't pray that on you. Whenever I said that a few weeks ago, I said, I pray God don't let you sleep. Jamie texted me on the way home. She's like, Jay, please don't pray that. I already can't sleep. Was it 3 weeks? Yeah, she's like, please don't do it. I already can't sleep. It ain't that he doesn't love you. He loves you. And he's waiting on you. But you have to make the choice. Is life and the things of life more important than the things of the Father? What did Jesus tell his mother when she found him? And he was sitting with the doctors and the lawyers. No doubt she was mad. She's like, well, where you been? He's like, oh, I've been right here. But don't you know I must be up and about my Father's business. I must be doing my Father's business. I pray that if you know someone or if you're here today and that this fits you, I pray you just look back to the Father. That's all it takes. The longest journey in life starts with one step. If you drive from here to California, I don't know why you'd want to, but if you did, it would start as soon as you left your driveway. The first step back to God. Here's the good thing about God. The first step back to God is the only step back to God. There's no hoops. There's no strings attached. The first step back is the journey. The first step back is the journey. And I pray you, if you're here today and you suffer with that, I pray you get that. And I pray that comes to you. I was a little bit longer than I intended to be, but hope that's helped you in some way. I didn't want to start something that was going to take a couple of weeks because Burr's obviously planning on being here tomorrow or next week. So he's planning on picking back up, and he's planning on picking back up with the second chapter there where he was at, and so I didn't want to get something that had to go a couple of weeks in between. So I hope that helped you tonight. I hope it means something to you. Got food in the cafeteria. Matt, tell me tacos. Yeah, tacos in the cafeteria. So if you want to come and fellowship and eat, we'd be honored to fellowship with you. Thank you for coming. I love you. Pray for us. Pray for the church. Remember the prayer request. And Lord willing, we'll see you Sunday morning.